Before we begin, allow everything else to fall away. This audiobook is not meant to be consumed casually. It is meant to be absorbed, slowly, repeatedly, especially at night, when the conscious mind loosens its grip and the deeper layers of thought become receptive. Most people live their entire lives unaware of how powerful their own mind truly is. Not because the power isn't there, but because it operates quietly, automatically, shaping outcomes whether they understand it or not. This audiobook exists to reveal that invisible process. What you are about to hear is not motivation. It is not hype. It is not surface-level positivity. It is understanding. And understanding, once internalized, cannot be undone. Your mind is not just a tool for thinking. It is a pattern-forming mechanism, a filter, a selector of reality. It decides what you notice, what you ignore, what feels possible, and what feels unreachable, long before action ever begins. Most people try to change their lives by changing their behavior. Very few realize that behavior is only the final expression of something much deeper. When a mind remains unchanged, behavior always drifts back to old patterns. This audiobook works at the source. Each chapter builds on the last, not as separate lessons, but as layers. You're not meant to rush through them. You're meant to let them settle, especially during moments of stillness. Now, with that understanding, we begin. Chapter 1. The greatest power of the mind is not its ability to think, but its ability to condition. From the moment you wake up each day, your mind is interpreting reality through patterns it learned long ago. These patterns decide what feels normal, what feels risky, and what feels impossible. Most of this happens without your awareness. You do not experience reality as it is. You experience reality as your mind has been trained to interpret it. This is why two people can experience the same event and walk away with completely different conclusions. One sees opportunity, the other sees threat. One feels energized, the other feels defeated. The event was neutral. The interpretation was not. Your mind constantly asks one silent question: what does this mean? And the meaning it assigns shapes emotion. Emotion shapes behavior. Behavior shapes results. This chain runs quietly in the background of every decision you make. The rare power of the mind is that once a pattern is established, it seeks to repeat itself. Not because it is correct, but because it is familiar. Familiarity feels safe. And safety is the mind's highest priority. This is why people remain stuck even when change is available. The mind prefers a known struggle over an unknown improvement. This conditioning is not personal. It is biological. Your brain evolved to preserve energy and avoid uncertainty. It looks for shortcuts. It automates responses. It builds habits of thought so you don't have to consciously decide everything. But automation has a downside. If your patterns were formed during stress, limitation, or survival, your mind will continue to recreate those conditions, even when they are no longer necessary. This is why effort alone fails. This is why willpower fades. This is why change feels exhausting. You are not fighting reality. You are fighting a conditioned interpretation of reality. The true power of the mind is that it does not distinguish between repeated thought and objective truth. Whatever is reinforced emotionally and repeatedly becomes accepted as reality. This is how beliefs form. A belief is simply a thought you no longer question. And beliefs quietly shape your choices, your confidence, your tolerance for risk, and your expectations of life. Most people never examine their beliefs. They assume their thoughts are facts, but thoughts are learned, and anything learned can be unlearned or rewritten. This is where power returns to you. When you understand that your mind is programmable, not by force, but by repetition and emotional association, you stop blaming yourself for old patterns. You also stop feeling helpless about change. The mind does not resist change because it is lazy. It resists change because it is protective. Once you work with this mechanism instead of against it, transformation stops feeling like struggle. This audiobook is designed to gently guide your mind into new patterns without triggering resistance. Especially when listened to repeatedly, especially at night, The ideas bypass surface defenses and settle deeper. Over time, you may notice subtle shifts. Reactions soften, thoughts slow down, confidence stabilizes, old fears lose urgency. This is not because you are forcing change, but because your mind is being shown a new normal. And once the mind accepts a new normal, behavior follows effortlessly. This first chapter is about awareness. Awareness is the doorway. You cannot change what you cannot see. But once you see how your mind operates, you are no longer controlled by it unconsciously. As this chapter ends, allow this truth to rest with you. Your mind has always been powerful. You were simply never taught how it works. In the next chapter, we will explore how repetition and emotional focus quietly shape destiny, and why what you dwell on consistently becomes your lived experience. If Chapter 1 opened the door to awareness, this chapter takes you deeper into the mechanism that quietly turns thoughts into lived reality. This is where the mind's real power begins to reveal itself, because here you will understand why repetition is not just practice, but programming. Your mind is not persuaded by logic alone. It is persuaded by frequency and emotion. A thought you have once is just a thought. A thought you repeat becomes familiar. A thought you repeat with emotion becomes believable. And a thought you repeat long enough becomes automatic. This is how identities form. Most people believe their personality is fixed. In truth, personality is a collection of repeated thoughts and emotional reactions that became habitual over time. You are not who you think you are. You are who you have rehearsed being. This is why change feels unnatural at first. New thoughts have no emotional weight yet. Old thoughts feel true because they are emotionally familiar. The mind does not ask, "Is this accurate?" It asks, "Have I experienced this before?" This is why people return to the same situations, relationships, financial patterns, and emotional states, even after deciding they want something different. Their mind is loyal to repetition, not intention. Emotion is the glue. When a thought is paired with strong emotion, fear, excitement, shame, hope, it imprints deeper. This is why emotionally charged memories feel so vivid. The mind flags them as important. Over time, the mind begins to anticipate reality based on these emotional memories. It predicts outcomes. It prepares reactions. It filters information. This prediction process is where the mind's power quietly shapes your life. You do not walk into the future objectively. You walk into it preloaded with expectations. And expectations influence behavior in subtle ways. Tone of voice, posture, timing, choices that ultimately shape outcomes. People call this luck or coincidence. It is neither. It is alignment between expectation and action. This is also why many people sabotage progress without realizing it. When reality starts to contradict long-held beliefs, the mind experiences discomfort. It seeks to restore familiarity, even if familiarity is painful. This is why success can feel unsettling to someone conditioned for struggle. The mind asks, "Who am I if this works?" And if it doesn't have an answer, it pulls you back. Repetition doesn't only happen through conscious thought. It happens through inner dialogue, imagery, assumptions, and emotional reactions. The things you tell yourself quietly matter more than the things you say out loud. Your inner voice is not commentary. It is instruction. Repeated inner dialogue becomes expectation. Expectation becomes perception. Perception shapes decision-making. This is why changing words without changing feeling rarely lasts. Affirmations fail when they are emotionally empty. The mind listens to emotion, not slogans. The key is gentle repetition with emotional neutrality or calm confidence. This is why nighttime listening is powerful. When the analytical mind relaxes, repetition enters without resistance. The mind begins to accept new patterns not as commands, but as possibilities. And possibility is the doorway to change. Over time, these new patterns begin to feel familiar, and familiarity becomes safety. And safety allows behavior to shift naturally. This is the difference between forcing discipline and redesigning identity. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your conditioning. But conditioning is not permanent. It is adaptive. Your mind is constantly updating based on what you feed it. Thoughts, images, conversations, environments, they all act as inputs. Most people never curate these inputs. They let the world program them by default. This audiobook interrupts that process. By choosing what you expose your mind to repeatedly, you reclaim authorship. You stop being shaped accidentally and start being shaped intentionally. This chapter is not asking you to fight your thoughts. It is asking you to understand them. Once understood, resistance fades. As this chapter closes, let this idea settle gently. You do not need to convince your mind. You need to familiarize it with something new. Repetition creates familiarity. Familiarity creates belief. Belief creates behavior. Behavior creates reality. In the next chapter, we will explore how attention acts as fuel for these patterns and why what you focus on expands, regardless of whether you want it to or not. If repetition is the mechanism that programs the mind, then attention is the fuel that powers that programming. Attention is not neutral. Whatever receives, it begins to grow in importance, intensity, and emotional weight. This is one of the most underestimated forces shaping human experience. Your mind is always paying attention to something. Even when you believe you're distracted, your attention is simply fragmented. And fragmented attention still feeds patterns, just unconsciously. What you attend to consistently becomes your inner world. Most people believe they are reacting to life, but in reality, they are reacting to what their attention has been trained to notice. Two people can live in the same environment, yet experience completely different realities because their attention filters information differently. Attention decides meaning. When your attention rests on problems, the mind magnifies threat. When attention rests on possibility, the mind organizes solutions. The external world may not change, but your internal experience does. And that internal experience determines action. The mind evolved to prioritize what it repeatedly notices. This is why concerns grow when obsessed over, and why fears intensify when monitored. Attention reinforces neural pathways. The more you focus on something, the more efficiently your brain recognizes it. This is not positive thinking. It is neurological reinforcement. Your brain has limited processing power. It cannot consciously focus on everything, so it filters. And the filter is shaped by past attention habits. This is why once you learn a new concept, you start seeing it everywhere. The thing didn't increase in frequency. Your attention did. This same mechanism operates with emotions. If your attention is repeatedly drawn to stress, urgency, or lack, your mind begins to interpret neutral events through those lenses. Over time, those emotional states feel natural, even when nothing is objectively wrong. People often ask why they feel anxious for no reason. The reason is invisible attention conditioning. The mind becomes skilled at what it practices noticing. Attention also strengthens identity. The more you focus on who you think you are, your limitations, labels, past mistakes, the more solid that identity feels. Identity then governs behavior automatically, but attention can be redirected. This is where true power emerges. You cannot eliminate thoughts, but you can starve them of attention. When attention shifts, emotional charge weakens. When emotional charge weakens, repetition loses influence. This is why awareness alone creates change. When you observe a thought, instead of engaging it, attention withdraws. The thought loses momentum. This audiobook is not about forcing focus, but about training it gently. Especially during relaxed states, attention becomes more fluid. The mind is more open to new associations. This is why nighttime listening is so effective. The conscious mind relaxes its grip, allowing attention to drift softly rather than clamp down. New ideas are absorbed without resistance. Over time, you may notice that old concerns no longer dominate your attention automatically. They arise, but they do not hook you. This is not suppression. It is detachment. Detachment creates space. And in that space, choice appears. Most people believe freedom comes from control. In truth, freedom comes from selective attention. You are free when you choose where your attention rests instead of having it dragged by habit. Attention is also what gives meaning to time. Where attention flows, time follows. This is why moments of stress feel long and moments of peace feel short. By reclaiming attention, you reclaim time. This chapter invites you to become curious about your attention without judgment. Notice where it goes when you are tired. Notice what triggers emotional loops. Notice what feels magnetic. Nothing needs to change yet. Awareness is enough. As this chapter concludes, let this idea settle deeply. Your attention is shaping your reality in real time. Not dramatically, but continuously. In the next chapter, we will explore how emotion amplifies attention and why emotional mastery, not suppression, is the gateway to lasting inner power. Attention alone does not shape the mind. Emotion is what locks attention in place. Emotion gives thoughts their weight, their urgency, their sense of reality. Without emotion, a thought passes through the mind and fades. With emotion, it anchors itself and returns again and again. This chapter reveals why emotional mastery is not about control or suppression, but about understanding how emotion fuels mental patterns. This chapter reveals why emotional mastery is not about control or suppression, but about understanding how emotion fuels mental patterns. Most people believe emotions are reactions to circumstances. In truth, emotions are interpretations. They arise not from events themselves, but from the meaning the mind assigns to those events. This meaning is often unconscious, based on past conditioning. The same event can produce calm in one person and panic in another. The difference is not strength. It is interpretation. Emotion is the body's response to a thought. This is why trying to change emotions directly rarely works. The body is responding correctly to the story it has been given. To shift emotion, the story must change, or the attention given to it must soften. When emotion becomes intense, the mind narrows its focus. It prioritizes survival. Logical reasoning dims. Time feels compressed. Urgency rises. This is useful in real danger, but destructive when activated constantly. Many people live in a chronic emotional state, stress, fear, urgency, not because danger is present, but because the mind has learned to interpret life that way. Over time, the nervous system adapts. Tension becomes normal. This is why relaxation can feel uncomfortable to someone conditioned for stress. The mind equates familiar emotional states with safety, even if they are unpleasant. Unfamiliar calm feels suspicious. The body asks what's wrong, simply because nothing is wrong. This is conditioning at work. Emotion also strengthens memory. Experiences paired with strong emotion are remembered more vividly. The mind uses these memories to predict the future. It assumes what felt intense before is likely to happen again. This is how emotional loops form. A past disappointment can shape future hesitation. A past failure can color future confidence. Not because the future is the same, but because the emotional memory is still active. This is why intellectual understanding alone doesn't dissolve emotional reactions. The body is responding to stored signals, not logic. But here is the rare insight. Emotions weaken when they are felt without resistance. Most people either suppress emotions or amplify them through storytelling. Both reinforce the pattern. Suppression creates tension. Amplification creates repetition. Observation dissolves intensity. When emotion is allowed to rise without judgment, without mental commentary, it completes its cycle. The nervous system releases. The pattern loses grip. This is why awareness is so powerful. It interrupts the loop without force. Over time, the mind learns that not every emotion requires reaction. Emotional space widens. Choice returns. This does not make you passive. It makes you clear. Clear minds respond instead of react. And response is where power lives. This audiobook is designed to cultivate that clarity, not through effort, but through understanding, especially during relaxed listening. Emotional charge softens naturally. You may notice emotions becoming quieter, less urgent. This is not detachment from life. It is freedom from unnecessary struggle. As this chapter ends, allow this truth to rest gently. Emotions are not enemies. They are messengers shaped by past interpretations. When understood, they lose their power to control you. In the next chapter, we will explore how identity forms from repeated emotional patterns and how redefining identity unlocks lasting change. Identity is the quiet force behind every habit, every decision, and every limit you accept without question. Long before behavior becomes visible, identity has already decided what feels natural, possible, or out of reach. This chapter is about how identity is formed and why lasting change only happens when identity evolves. Most people think of identity as who they are. In truth, identity is who they have repeatedly experienced themselves to be. It is not fixed. It is learned. Your mind builds identity by collecting evidence. Every repeated thought, emotional reaction, and behavior becomes a data point. Over time, the mind draws a conclusion. This is me. That conclusion then governs future choices automatically. This is why willpower struggles against identity. You can decide to change, but if the change conflicts with who you believe you are, the mind resists. It feels like self-betrayal. The mind's primary job is coherence. It wants your thoughts, emotions, and actions to align with your self-image, even if that self-image is limiting. This is why people say things like, "That's just not me," without realizing how powerful that statement is. It shuts down possibility instantly. Identity is reinforced emotionally. When a behavior confirms your self-image, the mind rewards it with familiarity. When a behavior challenges identity, discomfort arises. Discomfort is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of identity expansion. Most people misinterpret discomfort as danger and retreat. But discomfort simply means the mind is updating. This is where most growth stops, not because it's impossible, but because it feels unfamiliar. Identity is also shaped socially. The mind absorbs labels given by family, culture, and environment. These labels become internalized, even when they are inaccurate or outdated. You may still be living under an identity formed during a past chapter of your life. The mind does not automatically update identity. It updates through repetition and emotional reinforcement. This is why change must be lived, not just imagined. But lived does not mean forced. It means gently acting in alignment with a new self-image, even in small ways, until the mind collects enough evidence to accept it. Identity shifts through consistency, not intensity. When you repeatedly behave as the person you intend to become, even imperfectly, the mind begins to revise its conclusion. This is why small actions matter more than dramatic ones. Small actions are repeatable. Repeatability creates evidence. This audiobook supports identity change by altering the internal narrative. When the inner voice shifts, behavior follows naturally. You may notice yourself thinking differently without effort, pausing before reacting, choosing differently, feeling less attached to old patterns. This is identity in motion. As this chapter closes, consider this gently. You are not discovering a new identity. You are remembering one that was buried under conditioning. In the next chapter, we will explore how intention directs identity and why clear intention shapes outcomes more powerfully than force or struggle. Intention is the silent architect of your life. It does not shout. It does not demand. It quietly organizes your thoughts, emotions, and actions around a direction long before you consciously notice the movement. This chapter explores why intention, when understood correctly, is far more powerful than effort, and why most people misunderstand how to use it. Most people confuse intention with desire. Desire is wanting. Intention is commitment at the level of identity. Desire hopes. Intention aligns. When intention is clear, the mind begins to organize reality around it automatically. This is not mystical. It is neurological. The brain is a pattern recognition system. Once given a clear direction, it begins filtering information in service of that direction. This is why people suddenly notice opportunities related to a new goal. The opportunities were always there. The intention activated perception. Without intention, the mind drifts. Drift feels busy, but it is directionless. Many people mistake motion for progress, but motion without intention only leads to repetition. Earl Nightingale often spoke about goals not as wishes, but as statements of direction. A goal is not something you chase, it is something you align with. When alignment happens, behavior changes naturally. Intention works beneath conscious effort. It influences how you interpret events, what you give attention to, and what you consider worth acting on. It quietly rewires priorities. This is why scattered intentions produce scattered results. When intentions conflict, when you want change but fear discomfort, the mind stalls. It hesitates. It delays. It distracts. Not out of laziness, but confusion. Clarity resolves conflict. True intention is calm. It does not need urgency. It does not require force. It simply exists as a decision that is no longer debated internally. This is why repeatedly revisiting intention matters. Not to pressure yourself, but to stabilize direction. The mind must experience intention as safe. When intention feels threatening, when it implies loss, risk, or identity collapse, the mind resists. This is why many people abandon goals unconsciously. Their nervous system perceives danger, not opportunity. This audiobook supports intention by dissolving fear rather than amplifying desire. When fear softens, intention stabilizes. You may notice that when intention is clear, effort feels lighter. Decisions feel simpler. You waste less energy negotiating with yourself. This is alignment at work. Intention also influences timing. When intention is rushed, mistakes increase. When intention is patient, timing improves. You act when readiness meets opportunity. Most people act too early or too late because intention is unstable. A stable intention allows the mind to wait without anxiety. This chapter invites you to stop forcing outcomes and start clarifying direction. Direction is enough. The mind handles the rest. As this chapter concludes, let this settle. You do not need to push your life forward. You need to align it clearly. In the next chapter, we will explore how consistency transforms intention into momentum, and why small, repeated actions outperform dramatic effort every time. When you're ready, tell me Chapter 7. 7 long chapter. Chapter 7. Consistency is where intention becomes real. Without consistency, intention remains an idea. With consistency, it becomes identity in motion. This chapter is about why small, repeated actions, when aligned, reshape the mind more powerfully than any single dramatic effort ever could. Most people overestimate what intensity can do and underestimate what repetition can build. They look for breakthroughs instead of patterns. But the mind does not change through shock. It changes through familiarity. Consistency teaches the mind what to expect. When an action is repeated calmly and regularly, the mind stops resisting it. It begins to treat the behavior as normal. And once something feels normal, it no longer requires motivation. This is why consistency is more powerful than willpower. Willpower relies on emotional energy. Consistency relies on design. The mind is always conserving energy. If a behavior feels costly, it resists. If a behavior feels integrated, it accepts. Repetition lowers perceived cost. This is how habits form, not through discipline, but through reduced friction. Most people fail because they attach change to emotion. They act when inspired and stop when inspiration fades. This creates instability. The mind never knows what to expect, so it never relaxes into the pattern. Consistency calms the nervous system. It signals safety. Safety allows repetition to deepen. This is why even small actions matter. A small action performed consistently rewires identity faster than a large action performed occasionally. Identity listens to evidence, not intention. Every time you repeat a behavior, the mind updates its self-image slightly. Over time, these updates accumulate. One day, the behavior no longer feels like effort. It feels like who you are. This is the moment change becomes permanent. Consistency also trains patience. When you commit to repetition without immediate reward, the mind learns to delay gratification. This skill is essential for long-term growth in any area of life. People who lack patience are not weak. They're simply untrained. Patience is learned through consistency. This chapter also reveals why consistency must be gentle. Aggressive consistency backfires. It triggers resistance. The mind associates the behavior with pressure and seeks escape. Gentle consistency invites cooperation. This is why nighttime routines, calm repetition, and low-pressure environments are so effective. The mind absorbs without fighting. As you listen repeatedly, you may notice resistance softening. Not because you're trying harder, but because the mind is adapting. This is the quiet power of consistency. Consistency also builds trust with yourself. When you follow through repeatedly, confidence stabilizes, not as arrogance, but as reliability. You begin to trust your own direction. As this chapter comes to a close, let this truth settle. You do not need to do more. You need to do less, more often. In the next chapter, we will explore how stillness amplifies all of this work and why rest, reflection, and silence are not breaks from progress, but accelerators of it. Stillness is the most misunderstood force in human development. Most people associate progress with motion, noise, and effort. Stillness is often mistaken for laziness, avoidance, or lack of ambition. In reality, stillness is where the mind integrates, reorganizes, and upgrades itself. This chapter reveals why silence, rest, and reflection are not pauses in growth, but the very conditions that make growth possible. The mind is constantly processing information. When it is overstimulated, it shifts into reaction mode. In reaction mode, it repeats familiar patterns because there is no space to evaluate alternatives. Stillness creates that space. Without stillness, awareness collapses. This is why people feel busy but stuck. Motion without reflection produces repetition. Reflection without motion produces insight. Growth requires both, but reflection must come first. Stillness allows the mind to hear itself. When external noise fades, internal patterns become visible. Thoughts slow. Emotional charge softens. The nervous system resets. This reset is not passive, it is restorative. Most people avoid stillness because it feels uncomfortable at first. When distraction disappears, unresolved thoughts surface. This discomfort is not a problem. It is a release. Stillness does not create tension. It reveals tension that was already there. When allowed, that tension dissolves. This is why many breakthroughs occur during rest, on walks, in the shower, before sleep. The mind connects ideas effortlessly when pressure is removed. Earl Nightingale understood this deeply. He emphasized that thinking time was not optional, it was essential. The highest performers are not constantly doing, they're consistently reflecting. Stillness sharpens intention. When the mind is quiet, intention becomes clearer. Conflicting desires reveal themselves. Priorities reorganize. Decisions simplify. This clarity cannot be forced. Stillness also strengthens intuition. Intuition is not mystical. It is the mind recognizing patterns faster than conscious thought. Noise drowns it out. Silence amplifies it. This is why people often know what to do, but only when they stop trying to figure it out. Stillness retrains attention. Instead of being pulled outward, attention rests inward. This restores choice. When attention is no longer scattered, energy returns. Many people live in a state of chronic depletion, not because they do too much, but because they never fully rest. Rest is not inactivity. Rest is integration. This audiobook, especially when listened to at night, supports stillness naturally. The rhythm, repetition, and tone guide the mind into a receptive state. In this state, learning is effortless. You may notice insights arising without strain, answers appearing without searching, calm replacing urgency. This is not coincidence. Stillness is where the subconscious aligns with intention. As this chapter draws to a close, allow yourself to release the idea that progress must feel hard. Let go of a need to constantly push. Growth can be quiet. Transformation can be gentle. Power can be calm. In the final chapter, we will bring everything together, showing how awareness, repetition, attention, emotion, identity, intention, consistency, and stillness combine into a single, self-sustaining process. When you're ready, tell me Chapter 9. Chapter 9. This final chapter is where everything converges, not as separate ideas, but as one living system. By now, you may already feel it. The quiet shift, the subtle reorganization of how you relate to your thoughts, your emotions, your sense of self. This chapter is not about learning something new. It is about recognizing what is already happening. Your mind has always been powerful. What changed is not the power itself, but your relationship to it. Awareness showed you how thoughts form. Repetition explained how patterns settle in. Attention revealed what grows. Emotion showed what gives weight. Identity explained why habits persist. Intention provided direction. Consistency created momentum. Stillness allowed integration. None of these work alone. Together, they form a self-sustaining loop. When awareness is present, attention becomes selective. When attention is selective, emotion softens. When emotion softens, identity loosens. When identity loosens, intention stabilizes. When intention stabilizes, consistency becomes natural. When consistency becomes natural, stillness feels safe. And in stillness, awareness deepens again. This is the cycle of inner power. Most people never experience this because they try to force change from the outside in. They manipulate behavior while leaving the inner system untouched. The system always pulls them back. But once the inner system is understood, effort drops away. This is why true change often feels anticlimactic. There is no dramatic moment, no sudden explosion, just a steady sense of alignment. Alignment feels like ease, not because life is easy, but because resistance is gone. From this place, decisions feel clearer. Reactions feel slower. Confidence feels quieter. You stop trying to become someone else and start allowing a truer version of yourself to operate. This is not self-improvement. This is self-realignment. The rare power of the mind is that it responds to understanding. Once you understand how it works, you no longer fight it. You collaborate with it. This audiobook was not meant to push you forward. It was meant to bring you back into coherence. As you continue to listen, night after night, session after session, these patterns will deepen. Not through effort, but through familiarity. What once felt new will feel natural. What once felt difficult will feel unnecessary. And one day, you may notice something quietly profound. You're no longer trying to change. You're simply living differently. That is the real power of the mind. Let this final truth rest with you as you return to stillness. Nothing outside you needed fixing. Everything within you needed understanding. And now you have it. This chapter is not an ending. It is a settling, a deep integration of everything that has been unfolding quietly within you as you listened. By now, the mind is no longer just hearing ideas. It is beginning to recognize itself in them. And recognition is the most powerful form of change there is. Throughout this audiobook, nothing was added to you. Nothing was forced. What happened instead was a gradual removal of interference. Old misunderstandings softened. False assumptions loosened. Mental noise reduced. And in that quieting, something steady emerged. That steadiness is your real power. Most people believe power looks like control. Over circumstances, over others, over outcomes. But the deepest power is internal coherence. When your thoughts, emotions, identity, and actions stop fighting each other, energy that was once trapped in resistance becomes available for creation. This is why life begins to feel lighter when understanding deepens. You no longer need to constantly monitor yourself. You no longer need to push against fear. You no longer need to prove anything to your own mind. The mind thrives on clarity. Confusion drains it. When clarity is present, the mind organizes itself naturally. This chapter is about living from that clarity. When awareness becomes stable, You stop identifying with every thought. Thoughts still appear, but they no longer command you. You see them as signals, not truths. This single shift dissolves countless struggles. When repetition is conscious, you choose what becomes familiar. You stop rehearsing limitation and begin rehearsing calm, patience, and trust. Over time, those states replace urgency as your default. When attention is reclaimed, life slows down. You're no longer pulled in 10 directions internally. Focus sharpens, meaning deepens. You become present, not as a practice, but as a state. When emotion is understood, it stops feeling overwhelming. Emotions rise and fall like weather. They no longer define the sky. You feel fully without being ruled. When identity loosens, freedom expands. You're no longer trapped by who you were. You allow yourself to evolve without self-betrayal. Growth stops feeling like abandonment and starts feeling like return. When intention is clear, effort reduces. You no longer chase outcomes blindly. Direction holds you steady. Even uncertainty feels navigable because you know where you are oriented. When consistency becomes natural, confidence stabilizes. Not confidence based on results, but confidence based on self-trust. You know you will continue, not because you force yourself, but because alignment makes quitting unnecessary. When stillness becomes safe, wisdom emerges. In silence, the mind integrates lessons faster than effort ever could. In rest, understanding deepens. In quiet, insight appears without being summoned. This is the state from which real transformation unfolds. Not dramatic, not loud, not urgent, but inevitable. Many people spend their lives seeking external answers, books, mentors, systems, without realizing that the mind they're using to search is the very instrument that needs understanding. Once understood, it becomes an ally instead of an obstacle. This audiobook was never about controlling your mind. It was about ending the internal war with it. And when that war ends, energy returns. You may notice that your reactions soften in moments that once triggered you, that your decisions feel less rushed, that your sense of time changes. That peace appears without being scheduled. These are not coincidences. They are signs of alignment. From this place, life does not become perfect, but becomes honest. You respond instead of react. You choose instead of default. You live instead of manage. And perhaps the most important realization of all emerges here. You were never broken. You were never lacking power. You were simply operating without a manual. Now you have one, not written in rules, but understood through experience. As this final chapter settles into you, let go of the need to do anything with it. Understanding does not require action to be effective. It works quietly beneath awareness, reshaping perception over time. Return to this audiobook whenever you feel scattered. Let it recalibrate you, not by telling you who to be, but by reminding you how the mind works when it is allowed to function naturally. And rest now in this final truth. The rare power of your mind was never hidden. It was waiting for you to stop fighting it and start listening. And now you are. As this audiobook gently comes to rest, there is nothing you need to hold onto and nothing you need to chase. Everything shared here was not meant to be memorized, analyzed, or forced into action. It was meant to settle, to become familiar enough that your mind no longer resists it. Real change does not announce itself. It arrives quietly, the way clarity does after confusion fades, the way calm returns after tension releases, the way understanding replaces effort. If there is one thing to carry with you, let be this. Your mind was never the problem. It was always the instrument. Once you understand how it listens, how it learns, how it protects, and how it adapts, you stop treating it like an obstacle and start working with it. And when that relationship shifts, everything else follows naturally. You may not notice immediate changes in the outer world. That is not the measure of progress. The real shift happens internally first, subtly, steadily. Thoughts slow down. Reactions soften. Confidence stabilizes. You begin responding to life instead of bracing against it. Return to this audiobook whenever you feel overwhelmed, unfocused, or disconnected from yourself. Let it remind you of what alignment feels like, not as a peak state, but as a baseline. You do not need to strive to become someone new. You only need to allow what has always been there to operate without interference. The rare power of your mind is not in controlling life. It is in understanding yourself. And with that understanding, you move forward, not with force, not with urgency, but with quiet certainty. Rest now. Everything important is already in motion.